Warahmatullah. Welcome everyone. Welcome brothers and sisters from High Wycombe. Good to have you here today. Today the topic is the Daba, the beast, which is a prophecy that's mentioned in the Quran. So it's one of the few prophecies of the end times that is explicitly mentioned in the Quran. I'm not talking about alluded things. There may be many allusions, meanings that we can draw, but this is something that is explicitly mentioned in the Quran. So that's what makes it very important for us. And also because in the Sahih hadith that we have about end times, events of end times, the beast is almost always mentioned amongst those major signs. So hence we can say that the beast is a very important phenomenon, a very important prophecy of end times, but we don't hear many people talking about it. You hear people talking about Dajjal, yeah? You may hear people talking about Yajuj and Majuj, but hardly anyone talking about the beast. And I think mainly because there's people don't know what to make of it. And so today, inshallah, we are going to spend some time and probably give you a theory about the beast and the emergence of the beast, which you may not have come across before, but something to reflect upon. But clearly it's extremely important event, or clearly it's a very important creation to actually be mentioned in the Quran as a prophecy for the end times. To begin with, we're just going to quickly review the hadith of Fatima bint Qais that we saw last time in the Dajjal class, because this hadith is very directly linked to the beast, as we are going to set it forward today. So if you remember, this is the famous hadith which is in the Sahih, which is about the island. It's often called the hadith of Tamim al-Dari. Tamim al-Dari is the Christian Arab who converted to Islam. And when he came to Medina and he converted to Islam, he told the Prophet ﷺ about an event that happened to them when they went to the island and everything. And the Prophet ﷺ then immediately gathered the people after the prayer. So, and then the Prophet ﷺ actually told the Muslims, the assembled Muslims, about what Tamim al-Dari had told him. So this is quite amazing in several respects. Firstly, it must have been a very important thing for the Prophet ﷺ to gather all the Muslims after the prayer, because most hadith that we have are from one Sahabi or two, certain things that certain Sahaba have. But this is, you've got now hundreds. You've got all the Sahaba gathered there to listen to this, first of all. And secondly, just for those who are interested in the hadith sciences, this is one of the very rare type of hadith, actually, which is the Prophet ﷺ is relating from someone else. Because nearly every hadith is people are narrating from the Prophet ﷺ. But this is the hadith, it's narrating from the Prophet, but he's narrating from Tamim al-Dari, interestingly. So the hadith is narrated by Fatima bint Qais, a female Sahabi. So as you can see, she says, she's describing the incident. I went out to the mosque and prayed behind the Prophet ﷺ. The reason why we're focusing on this hadith is because according to some of the earliest opinions from the Sahaba, the beast that is mentioned in the Quran, the Daba, is the same Jassasa mentioned here in this hadith. And this hadith is called Jassasa. And this was the opinion of Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, who, as you know, is one of the most leading of people of knowledge of the younger Sahaba. So from the younger generation of Sahaba that were teaching for many, many years after the Prophet ﷺ, Abdullah ibn Umar ranks as, if not number one, as one of the top few in knowledge. So he said that the Dabba mentioned in the Quran is the Jasasa mentioned in this narration. And this is the opinion that I'm going to go with for the purpose of our class today. This is the theory that we're going to build upon. So that's why we want to also understand this hadith properly. So when the Prophet ﷺ had finished his prayer, he sat on the pulpit, the mimbar, and said everyone should stay in his place. So after the prayer, normally you go back to your business, but he said, no, stay. In other words, he's going to talk to them. He's going to give them a khutbah. And he was smiling. And he said, do you know why I asked you to assemble? They said, Allah and His Messenger know best. So then the Prophet ﷺ says the following. I've kept you here because Tamim al-Dari, a Christian man who has become Muslim, told me something which agrees with what I have told you about Dajjal. Because the Prophet ﷺ has been telling the Muslims about Dajjal, many things. And then when Tamim al-Dari has come from a foreign place, he's never been to Medina before, he's then told the Prophet ﷺ all these things about Dajjal, which the Prophet ﷺ has already been telling them. So in a way, it's an affirmation of the truth of what the Prophet ﷺ was saying as well, which is why the Prophet ﷺ was also happy. He actually said that, I was happy, you know. So what happened? Tamim al-Dari sailed in a ship with 30 men from Banu Lakham and Banu Judham. These are the Arab Christian tribes on the north of Arabia. And they were lost in the sea for 1 month until they finally came to an island at their time of sunset. They landed on the island and were met by a beast who was so hairy. So this is the beast, the Jasasa, who was so hairy that they could not tell its front from its back. They said, woe to you, what are you? He said, I am al-Jassasa. They said, what is al-Jassasa? So Jassasa, probably some of you know, anyone know what the root word of Jassasa is? Spying, yeah, from the Arabic. Jassasa is from the root that means tajassus is to spy, and the term is used in the Quran, Surah Al-Hujurat as well. You should not spy on one another, la tajassasu, and so on. It's forbidden for us, you know, as Muslims, to spy on one another in the Quran, you know. Interestingly, the Quran forbids spying. Yeah. Anyway, they said, "Oh people, go to the man in the monastery, for he's very eager to know about you." And then they named a person because we were afraid lest it be a devil. Tamim said, we quickly went to the monastery. And there we found a huge man with his eyes tied up to his neck and with iron shackles on his legs. So he was huge in size, a man, but with these iron shackles. So obviously this is the Dajjal. And they said to this man, woe to you, who are you? He said, you will soon know about me, tell me who you are. They said, we are people from Arabia, we sailed in a ship, but the waves have been tossing us about for a month, and they brought us to your island. Then we met this beast that was so hairy that we could not tell its front from its back. And then we asked what it is, and he said, I'm al-Jassasa. and he sent us to you. The man said, tell me about the date palms of Baysan. We said, what do you want to know about them? He said, I want to know whether these trees bear fruit or not. He said, yes. He said, soon they will not bear fruit. So he then tells them a few things that will happen before the end of time. So the date palms of Baysan will become barren, and the lake of al-Tabariya, this is the Tiberias lake, also known as the Sea of Galilee. Sea of Galilee, yeah. Sea of Galilee, which is obviously mentioned in the Bible with Jesus and everything. So he said, soon there will be no water in it. In other words, it will dry up. And he asked about the spring of Zuhar and whether there is water in it. But then he doesn't say that will dry up. And then he asked, tell me about the unlettered prophet. What has he done? Obviously about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is known as a Nabi al-Ummi, unlettered prophet. So they told him he has left Mecca and settled in Yathrib. He said, do the Arabs fight against him? They said, yes. He said, how does he deal with them? So we told him that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had overcome the Arabs around him and that they had followed him. He asked, has it really happened? We said, yes. He said, it is better for them if they follow him. Now I will tell you about myself. I am a Dajjal. I will soon be permitted to leave this place. I will emerge and travel about the earth. In 40 nights I will pass through every town except Mecca and Medina. For these places have been forbidden to me. Every time I try to enter either of them, I will be met by an angel bearing an unsheathed sword who will prevent me from entering. There will be angels guarding them at every passage leading to them. So remember, this is in many hadith. So the Prophet ﷺ had been giving this information to Sahaba before about Dajjal, the 40 days, that he will not enter Mecca and Medina. Remember, this is in many other narrations. So Fatima said the Prophet ﷺ struck the mimbar with his staff and said, this is Taiba, this is Taiba. This is the city that was mentioned, So Taiba is a name of Medina and Yathrib. This is why we also know it as Taiba. So then the Prophet ﷺ said, I like this account given to me by Tamim because it agrees with that which I have told you about Dajjal and about Mecca and Medina. Indeed, he is in the Syrian Sea or the Yemen Sea. No, on the contrary, he is in the east, he is in the east, he is in the east, and he pointed towards the east. Fatima said, I memorized this from the Prophet ﷺ. So remember, this is one of those things we talked about before about the hadith sciences. That when a Sahaba, this is quite rare, where a Sahabi will actually say, I memorized this from the Prophet. It means what they're trying to say is this is, this is accurate, This is an accurate account, if not word for word, of the Prophet ﷺ.